And what's the weather like in California?
Oggi parliamo di Commander.
Hello, fellas. Welcome to a new episode of Casual Commanders. As you can see and hear from my voice, today is a very special episode with a very special guest. So please welcome Shivam Bhatt.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Hi, Shivam. How are you?
Hi, Shivam.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a great honor for us having you in our show. So, first of all, how are you?
Yeah, this is really cool. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we can start with the first question. So we wanted to ask you if you can explain us and our listeners a little bit of the works you do with the CAG, and also what the rules committee does. Especially, we wanted to ask you something like why people should listen to the rules committee. I mean, they are. I don't want to be polemic, but there are a lot of people who sometimes say something like, why I can't play this card? I love this card, but it's banned. They don't know what they do. And I usually feel like...
That's totally fair.
They know.
That is totally fair. Okay, so I am on the Commander Advisory Group. That is a group of people who are community members, content creators, people who know about Commander. And we act as an advocacy group for players to transmit their problems to the rules committee. The rules committee is for people who run the rules of Commander, right? They're the ones who make the rules, tell what cards are banned, what cards are legal, if new mechanics are allowed or disallowed. And they try to help shape the format so that it fits the vision that we have for what Commander is. So I'm one of 10 people on the rules, on the CAG, who sits there and talks to the audience around the world, and I get your opinions and feedback, and I try to bring it to the rules committee to help them understand, competitive EDH is having a problem with Flash. We should do something about that. Or, no, there's no problem with Thassa's Oracle. It's fine. That sort of thing. And also, I try to act as an advocate for casual, relaxed Magic, because all the content creators, all the major content creators are all very spiky, very competitive players. And there's a whole lot of content and a whole lot of people who talk about optimized Commander or very high level Commander, or picking the best cards. And I try to make sure that the kitchen table player who is just playing with the random pile of cards on their desk is also given a chance to be heard.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we are most a fan of Casual Commanders because
well, I'm glad to hear it.
Also, the name of this show is Casual Commanders, of course. So, yeah.
I mean, you guys asked why should the people listen to the rules committee, right?
Yeah, I think we...
Yeah, so that's a tricky one because the rules committee says you don't have to listen to us. You can do what you want. We're not going to come into your house. We're not going to go to your table and say, you can't play with those proxies. You can't play with that gold bordered card. We're not going to do that because we don't care, right? The entire purpose of the rules committee is so that if you go to a store or you go to an event or you're playing online, everybody has the same baseline to play off of. We have an idea of what we want the format to be. We want it to be able to be slower, able to play like expensive spells, do big flashy things. We want Commander to feel silly and fun and powerful. And so we'd say, okay, we're going to take out the cards that make it too fast or fast in the wrong way or reset the game or make it unfun. And so that if you're playing in a store, you don't meet somebody who's just going to come out, pull out their deck and just crush you, right? Like we don't want someone to sit there with their brand new, pre-con deck, go to a store for the first time to play Commander and just get crushed into the ground. That's why we give a kind of baseline to the rules. Now, if you want to change that, if you want to play the game differently, we're not going to stop you. Right? Like if you want planeswalkers as commanders, go ahead. If you want, triple partnered, if you want whatever you want to do, we're not going to tell you what to do because it is a casual format. We just want to make sure that if you're playing against people you don't know, that there's an even playing ground.
Yeah.
It's more like having a common ground. So you know what to expect from a game when you don't know the people
Exactly
you
that.
are playing against, usually.
Yeah, and I think for that reason, for the gathering aspect of Magic, this is the right way to tackle the problem, to the good approach to design and to maybe ban some cards. But I think the main goal is just having fun. So when you face another player with a very, very competitive deck, I think that the funny part is not so relevant in that case. So it's very easy also to socialize in some way with people playing competitive, for example. And this thing I think is one of the reasons because one of the reasons why Casual Commander is a very good community of players in relationship maybe with other competitive formats like Standard or Modern, of course. And I think this is a very great aspect of Commander.
Yeah, like when you're playing Standard or Legacy or Vintage, right? Then your job is you sit down and it's two people playing each other and you're staring at them and you're very quiet and you don't want to give anything away and you pick up your card when you win and you pick up your card when you lose and you walk to the next table and you never say a word to them and you're like, right? In Commander is a social format. Commander is not necessarily about who is winning or losing. Yeah. It's about hanging out with your friends or people you know, just chatting, drinking, enjoying your life, playing some cards, and having a good time. If you're competitive and you're playing with people who are competitive and you guys are all just having a good time, that's fine too, right? Like the main thing is making sure everybody's on the same level and making sure that everybody understands that we're here to be socialized. Right? Like we're here to party. We're not here to just beat each other up and then walk away.
Yeah. Yes, of course. And for instance, in my case, I consider myself a sort of novice, a newbie Commander player because I started to play EDH just a year ago. But starting playing Commander, I could see this thing because few years before
you also played Modern.
Yeah, play Modern or Standard, for example. And the community is very, very different, especially talking about casual commanders, because I don't know, I felt like in a big family in which I don't know, my friends start to say, oh, let's try my deck. If you want, you can try my deck, and you can I don't know which is your favorite archetype and so on. So I think that the competitive aspect of Magic is I think more like related to some sports, for example, because when you're doing sport, you are competitive, but the goal is different. Okay. And I think this
professional
where you're a professional
soccer player instead when you are like going to the park and playing with your friends.
I think there are two different ways of experience Magic. But I think these are also necessary for the game itself.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against playing competitive style or playing, one-on-one. I think it's a lot of fun. I have a Modern Elves deck. I have a Legacy deck. I like playing, one-on-one 60-card Magic. But when I want to relax, I'm not Pele going to go and play against Real Madrid. I'm going to be playing in the street with my friends, right? Like, Commander is playing street soccer. That's what it is. And so it's just like, it's more fun that way. The rules are a lot less tight. Nobody can give you a yellow card. You'll be fine.
Talking about the yellow and the red card, about bannings, if we want to spend some words.
Sure.
It is in the same.
It's the same thing of
that we are talking about why people should listen to the Command Rules Committee.
Right.
Yeah, and also, is it easy or not choosing the right cards. So
Yeah, we know that.
how much time you
when
spend
there
to
is a dis-
decide?
And when there is a discussion, we know that you
Oh
you
my
lose
God.
your mind on Twitter because everyone is bombarding you with their thought, and you are a great guy because you always ask for the community what they think. So you always put yourself in this spot. We know it's difficult for you, but you're like our martyr.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, the rules committee likes to call me their tank. As in, I run out there and I take all the arrows while they
just
hide
send you-
behind me. Yeah.
On the front line.
They throw me out there with the flag. Everybody points a gun. Goes. Yeah. So banning cards.
It's always Shivan fault.
Damn it. Oh yeah, it's always just like, look, shoot that guy. Yeah, so banning cards is the hardest thing, right? Like banning cards sucks. We don't want to do that because Commander's whole point is play all the cards you can. Play every card you own. Your cards will always be good in Commander. That's kind of the promise. But sometimes Wizards decides to make a card like Paradox Engine. And then we're like, this card sucks. We need to take it out. You know?
Too much.
Like, I mean, well, when everybody at the table is playing Paradox Engine because they're like, this is the best card, it's colorless, it goes in every deck, it untaps every time I play. They put Paradox Engine in Brawl on Arena, and that gave people a chance to see what Paradox Engine was like again. And it turns out Paradox Engine sucks. That card is a nightmare. It makes their turn take like 30 minutes, right? Like, and people are always like, oh, it's not that bad. They're going to have a combo eventually. I'm like, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the person next to me who has now been waiting an hour and a half for their turn to come around, right? That person has been sitting at the table for almost 2 hours while you sit and durdle with your Paradox Engine deck. You know, that's not fair to the other people at the table. That's why a card like that would get banned. It's bad for the experience, right? It's a powerful card, but yeah, you can disenchant whatever, handle it. It's not like combo doesn't exist in EDH. It's, does the combo win right now? Can we shuffle up, pick up our cards and start the game over? Or is the combo me watching you for 45 minutes while you try to figure out what your deck does? If that's the case, this card has to go, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the mentality we're going for. It's not like, oh, this is too powerful. It's, what will this do to the experience of the game? Flash, for instance, Flash plus Protean Hulk made CEDH end on turn 1 or turn 2. And that's too fast.
Yeah.
We want you to have a chance to actually play, to spend less, like, if you spend more time shuffling your deck than playing your deck, something's gone wrong, right? And EDH, we already got 100 cards, we're trying to shuffle, it takes forever to shuffle. So what we want to do is we want to make a ban list that gets rid of cards that specifically make it so that the game is either too long, i.e. Worldfire resets the whole game, puts everybody at 1, exiles the whole thing in play. That card is miserable. It means that the last 2 hours of your life are wasted. Or we get rid of cards like Paradox Engine, which say that I'm going to take my turn and then you're going to knit a sweater while you wait for me, right? Like, you know, your child is going to go off to college before it's your turn again. And we're trying to, like, that card has to go.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then there's cards like Coalition Victory. Right? Like, you understand what I'm saying? But like, Coalition Victory is a card that everybody's like, why is this on the ban list? It's stupid. It costs a lot. It has a really complicated set of win conditions. It's because nowadays with Golos, you can do it on turn like 3 or something, right? But more than that, it's because the card is an instant speed, I win the game. There's no counterplay. There's no like give and take. There's no, I have done something, you're doing something in reaction. We're playing a game and I won the game. There's just a, oh, by the way, I win. And that's like, yeah, it's not strong, but it's also not the attitude we want out of Commander. We don't want you to just feel like you can set up these 3 cards and then just like, whenever you feel like it, you can end the game. That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
There isn't
Right?
so much.
It kills interaction between players. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, like in Coalition Victory, there isn't so much of a setup required because, as you said, nowadays the lands you just need two triumphs and you already have 5 colors of lands.
2 triumphs.
And for the creatures,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it is trivial to get that card to go off.
You said that the problem with Paradox Engine is that you don't know what you are doing. I mean, you work card by card with what you get. For example, untapping everything, drawing a new card, and see what you can do, figuring out your deck as you play. I understand the feeling is a very overwhelming for the other people at the table that they're just sitting there and watching. It's very boring usually for the other people that they just stay there and wait for you, usually because they don't have an interaction, otherwise they would have already used. But when I think the classic 2-card combos, I sort of dislike them because I think them something. I mean, when we play casual commanders, we usually don't have so much interaction. I think that interaction is one of the major distinctions we have with the competitive scene. Competitive scenes usually always have an answer. And they have the whole deck of answers and 2 cards to win, usually, something like that.
Yes, exactly that.
And when I play casual commanders, I think that figuring out how to play the deck card by card is usually more fun than having a precise plan that I know every time my deck will do. I see that more like competitive play. So I think I don't know. It's just a thought that I had now, because what you were describing with the problem with Paradox Engine is at the same time what I think I like about Commander. About casual Commander.
Yeah, but I think that using Paradox Engine, I think the main problem is how much time you spend to
the point is
play.
That you are doing Commander too much and only by yourself.
Yes, exactly. I think that this is the reason why this card is banned and why it should be banned.
It's Solitaire. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's exactly that. You are exactly right. That the fun of casual Commander is that we don't want to run interaction. It's just in general, people are like, oh, you should put counter spells. You should run more interaction. But I'm playing casual EDH. I'm playing a tribal soldiers deck or a tribal merfolk deck. I want all the cards in my deck to be merfolk and soldiers, not lightning bolt to kill your thing, right? Like I want to be able to play my game. And yeah, I'll interact with you, but I'm not going to be making my deck to stop you from doing things. I would rather advance my game than prevent your game, right? Like that's kind of the goal of EDH. But a card like Paradox Engine, which is hella fun. Paradox Engine is super fun to play for you because you're like, oh, look, I can do these combos. I'm doing it. I'm tinkering. I'm untapping everything. I'm getting all these things to go together. This big machine. It's really, really fun for you. It is not fun for those 3 who would love to also do their machine
the game itself,
and have their game go off, right?
Yeah.
They just want to play. So, like, if you're doing it 1 card, 2 cards, 4 cards at a time, that's fine. If you're doing it like 50 cards and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
The worst thing you want in an EDH game is your friends to pick up their cell phone.
Yeah.
When they sit there and start playing their mobile games or go on Twitter or Facebook or start texting their buddies, you've lost. It doesn't matter what you're doing with your Paradox Engine or your Bolas Citadel or whatever it is. Your friends have already disconnected, which means that you have lost them, right? And that's not fun. Like, why did you come hang out with me if you didn't come here to watch me play Magic?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that sucks. You don't want to just sit there and be like, oh, look.
Yeah. I think it's like the same thing of Tormented Hellfire, in which at least you try to have a response, but you already know that you are dead. So I think this is not so fun.
I hate that card. I hate that card so much. Oh, God, dude, just kill me. Don't make me do this dance. Sure. I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, maybe I can sacrifice this. Maybe I can count. No, just kill me. Just kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just end it, please. Either end it
Just
or don't.
give me
but
it.
don't
Just
make me
end
waste
it,
my
and
time.
let's start another play. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And moving on with the next topic.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, it is very very different from the other one, but I think it's very very interesting. So I don't know, Aga, if you want to.
to introduce. Well,
Yeah.
representation in Magic is something that you always talk about. You are a big advocacy, and you were very loud when there was the release of Kaladesh, because you know the culture and you felt that it wasn't done right.
Yes.
And I have a sort of a question that I don't want to sound provocatory, but and I know that it comes from
No, go
a
ahead.
white guy in a white world where I know I'm privileged, and I live in a world where I am recognized as a person. I mean, my ethnicity, if you want to call that, my being is not something that people don't know exists, because we see white people in every media, in every movie, in every card also. But when I think, for me, representation, it's more like find.
And you guys are Italians.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's not. It isn't the right representation we get in movies.
Yeah.
No. But on top of that, though, like your culture is based on, Roman Empire culture, which is the basis of all Western culture.
all the other-
So at
Yeah.
least your representation is almost the baseline, right? Like for the default kind of idea of what we know.
Yeah, of the
Legionnaires
modern
and
Western
Caesar
culture.
and all that
Yeah.
shit. Like it's
Yeah. The point that I'm trying to make is that when I seek representation in a game, I think it's more like something that appeals to me as a person, and knowing all of that I don't seek someone that has the same characteristic as me. I mean, I can feel represented by an elf, an orc, if I know that the character in the game it does something that I would do, or just I mean, it's a cool character. I like dragons, and,
Sure.
and I feel I mean, I'm in love with the character of Niv Mizzet, but I don't feel attracted to the character because he looks like me. And I was wondering why for the people is so important. And I think that also the answer is that because for other people in the society there is no such a thing to usually they are not sorry, they are not represented. I mean, they are not known entities.
So the question might be, why do people feel the need for representation in games?
Sure. So your point is very correct, right? When you are looking for it, you're like, oh, look, this character speaks to me, as in because like there's something like we share, like Niv Mizzet, for instance, it's a dragon. You're not a dragon, but you want the kind of like, the appeal to knowledge, the appeal to experimentation. I like that sort of thing. It speaks to me. It gives me something to link to. Like, for instance, I like Gideon a lot. Gideon's a good, lawful soldier. He does the right thing. He helps his friends. That speaks to me as a person. But that's not the kind of representation. The reason you can go to that level, the reason you can go deeper into that is because you already have the baseline. You don't need to go looking to find character that looks like you. I can point to you to 1,000 characters that look like you could, like in any Magic set, I can pick up a card and say, look, this looks enough like you that you already have that need satisfied.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't need to, like for me, when I saw Girapur Gearcrafter from Magic Origins, it was a guy who was an Indian looking guy with building an ornithopter, and he had nice parted hair and everything. And I was like, if I shave, I look exactly like that. I've been playing Magic for almost the entirety of Magic's life, and I've never seen a card that looked like me before. And so like, yeah, I can find representation. I can find characters I bond with that I like feel connected to, but I've never seen myself as a hero in this game. I've never seen myself as a hero in any game, right? Like when you look at any video game or media or anything, if you look at dark-skinned people or stuff, or like Asian people or non-white people, you don't see them except as either enemies, henchmen, or assistant or like the doctor NPC that you have to save or something, right? Like you don't really see, you don't get a chance to explore that story to be that person. So like when I was a kid, I could sit there and I'd read a fantasy novel and I could pretend I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger in the novel, but I'm just like, I have to, dissociate myself to get into that, to be like, oh yeah, a big brawny white guy gets a girl. It's great. It's awesome. But I've never seen a skinny brown dude in a video game or in Magic until I saw things like Kaladesh or Origins or, now like you've got, Asian people who can see themselves in Khans of Tarkir or in some Silver Quill represent. I mean, you start to see more diversity because for you, it's less important. You've got that need filled. So you can look at a character and say like, I still think this character is cool. I can still connect with them on a intellectual level.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to worry about like, oh, is this going to be the only Indian person I see? And like, that's not the only white person you've ever seen in a Magic card, right? So I guess what it is like, think about it like this. If the only white person you ever saw in a game was like a heinous villain who is always a terrorist blowing things up, that would make you really uncomfortable and unhappy.
Yeah.
And you would be like, well, what the hell? This is it? I get to be the guy that we kill at the end of the game? Like, Call of Duty, for instance. You played Call of Duty, I'm sure. One of my friends is an Arab gamer, and he's like, I play a shooter game because I enjoy playing shooters like everybody else does, except the enemies always look like my dad. And I end up having to kill thousands of people who look like my dad in this game. And it's like, that maybe, can I have a game where I'm not trying to kill myself? Is that okay? Like, I just want to play a shooter game too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same with Magic, right? Like, I would like to, we want people to feel like they don't have to connect themselves to the only character. Like, Killian Liu and like in Strixhaven, for instance, is a standard generic stereotype for an Asian American, awful stereotypes and stuff. And it's like, but that's also the only one we have.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
And you better like this guy because that's what you've got.
Yeah.
So it's the same way, like, I would like give people better choices, right? So that we can have I would love to just sit there and say like, yo, my favorite character is like, I don't know, Lord of Atlantis or something, right? Like something that looks like nobody because I've already got that. I don't need to feel like I'm not in the game, right? Like I could sit there and, now it's getting better. Like now I'm getting the feel that, oh, I can see myself. And more importantly, you get the chance to see what it's like to be me too. And then you get a broader experience and you can see a world where you're not just the center of it. And it gives you a diverse idea. It gives me more connection to the game and it makes both of us broader, better human beings.
Yeah, and I think that I really like this intellectual identification instead of only a mere ethnical identification, because this, I think the intellectual one is the most important. So I think that when we struggle to engage and identify with a character, we disconnect from the game. So it's difficult to integrate also in the narrative of the game. Because I think that Magic should also be able to have also a narrative role, not only... Magic is not only a game that can be played in its competitive nature, but also a chance to live a story playing the cards. So maybe generate some interest for the story, for the lore, reading flavor text. And I think that this evocative aspect of Magic should be one of the main ingredients to achieve the gathering aspect of Magic, to achieve integration, representativeness. For instance, maybe I can identify with a particular character for its action. So maybe another player with the same interest like this character, so I can connect with this other player. And I think this is the very good thing of Magic.
Yes, absolutely. And Magic is such a global game, right? Like, think
Yeah.
about it. I'm here in America. I'm talking to you guys in Italy. A few weeks ago, I was talking to people in Brazil. I've talked to Magic gamers in Japan, in China,
Yeah.
in Korea. And we have a game that already spans the world. Shouldn't the game also look like the player? Right? Like, think about it. Think about the fact that Japan is one of the biggest centers of Magic play in the world. They've had one set. They've had Kamigawa, right? Where the hell are all the Japanese characters?
Wow.
You'd think that
Yeah.
that country is so important to Magic that there should be more, right?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Exactly.
I mean, hell, where's a German Magic set? I guess Eldraine's kind of a German Magic set.
exactly.
I guess that counts.
Yeah, exactly. We need more more variety in how the characters, for instance, are designed, and to try to identify different people with different characters. So I think this is a very important aspect of Magic. And speaking of
Out of
communities,
Yeah.
yeah.
Before we get there, though, I
Yeah.
was really curious. What did you guys think of Theros, which is a Greek set? Because in America, we put Greek and Roman kind of together. So it's like,
Yeah.
what do you guys think of that set? Did it represent your culture at all?
Of Theros, I think not, because Theros is a very, very ancient set. So the settings, yeah, because you are talking about Greek and Romans, but not nowadays. So I think it's very also different to maybe identify with.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I think
some
that we
ancient
don't
Greek.
feel the connection as you could say for Kaladesh. I think for maybe we could see a little bit of more connection with Eldraine in a way, because
okay.
for example, Eldraine it brings the inspiration from the folklore and the tales that
Yeah.
that we really grow up. For example, Red Riding Hood. It's a tale that it was
Sure,
told
yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
we were children. So I think that we can see more connection
Same
with
here.
that. I mean, for me personally, but
Yeah.
when I see it, I see the connection. Like I know these things. They are the same tales that I heard from when I was a child, but I don't see myself or my world in it.
Yeah.
It's not like I see. Yes, this is my world. I mean, it is still a connection in the fantasy settings. It resonates with me, but I don't feel like it is my home. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is clear enough for you.
No, yeah, that makes
Because-
sense. Yeah.
Okay. And so
Cool.
talking about communities, and of course we are saying that Magic is a global game in our entire world. So, but there are some differences in the communities. So personally, I think that there is a huge distance between the American community and, for instance, the Italian community. And I can see it also for a sort of language barrier, because
The content creation world, if you look at that, the major content creator, of course, I mean, it's logical that they speak in English because they have a broader audience.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I think that for Italian people, it feels a bit disconnected from the world. And a lot of our friends, they speak English, and sometimes they consume content in English, but they don't feel so engaged. Sometimes I
Yeah.
feel we usually tell them what's the news, because they don't follow everything that's going up, because I can understand if it is because they aren't so enfranchised like us, or it is because there isn't someone speaking directly to them. I think.
I mean, we have also Magic cards in Italian language, but the main problem is that when we look at the news, for example, we don't have Italian news. So I think is this aspect makes more difficult to engage with the magic world. So I don't know if you understand, but I think this is a very important aspect of magic, because when we are talking about the gathering aspect, I think that anyone, even if the people that are not so good at speaking English, should be engaged, and so should be.
That's why they translate the cards in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So why we have cards in Italian and we don't have contents in Italian language?
And this is it's something that you can see on the mothership on the Wizard website. The articles aren't always translated at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the story it takes 4 more days or a week more to get the Italian story.
Jeez.
I mean, and I know that English is the easiest way to speak internationally, but I mean, if you as a company set up to you decide that you translate your product in Italian, you should also complete the job and also speak Italian with the community.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, I think you make a very good point. And I mean, to be fair, Italy's magic scene is pretty well known now because of, Andrea Mengucci, right? Like one of the great players in the world.
Mengucci, yeah.
But all of his content's also in English. All of his content's in English. And I think there's a very big problem we have that, like, Brazil, Germany, Russia, China, all of us who make content, the vast majority of us live in either America, Canada, or the UK, right? Like that's where most content creators live. And all of us speak English. And that's why, I mean, look, I could do a very bad Italian video, I'm sure, but it would be very slow and take me a lot of, practice. But it would, but also the thing is, because me and Sam, Ristic Studies, we were talking about this, that Magic has this weird disconnect in that the cards are published all over the world. The cards are translated, like you said, in 19, 20 languages. But when it comes to actual content, actual news, you have to stay up until 2 a.m. to watch previews show up on American, channels or whatever for the next big site. And those previews are going to be in English. They're not even going to be in Italian or French or German or Portuguese or Japanese or Korean. Like, I don't even know how Japanese and Korean people bother doing this. That's 17-hour time difference from where we are. Yeah. It's completely wild.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a really big problem for a global company like that. That's one of the reasons why I like to do things like this, to talk to people like you who are outside of America, because I know what an American EDH player cares about. Like, I don't know what an Italian EDH player cares about or what a Russian EDH player. Like, when I was talking to you, I was on CDH Brazil. I was on their stream and we were chatting. And I learned that they have a huge problem with card availability in Brazil, like because of imports and because of everything. And I was like, you guys are playing with Chinese cards and Taiwanese cards and English and French. And like, look, man, the official Brazilian Portuguese cards just don't come to us. So we can't, buy them. So we have to bootleg cards from Taiwan or whatever the hell. And we all know what the picture is. I mean, now that every card's got 38 different prints, so maybe it's going to be a lot harder to figure out what the card actually is. But in the old days, you could sit there and say, like, this is Ristic Studies. Yes, it's in Chinese, but we know. But that's a big problem. And when I'm trying to make policy for EDH, when I'm trying to figure out how do I, and I say but I mean the 6 people on the CAG and the 4 people in the rules committee, all 10 of us, when we're sitting there trying to make a decision about what does it mean to be EDH as a global game, what impact will our decisions have on not just the people in America, but the people in everywhere who have to sit there and go, like, what are these assholes doing? Because it's like, for instance, like, let's say that, like when we banned Paradox Engine, because we're already talking about that, right? Or rather, when we banned Lutri, we banned Lutri, which was the otter at the beginning of Ikoria, right? Yeah. And we banned it day 0. And people have asked us, why did you do that? Why did you ban it the second it was announced? Yeah. And it's because they told us it was coming a week or so before, and we had a discussion. And the reason we chose day 0 to ban it is because we didn't want people to go to their pre-release for Ikoria, to go and buy these cards, to go to the store and be like, oh, look, Loot Tree's coming. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get this otter, pay $50 to get this otter or whatever, or, €50 to go buy this thing, and then come home and then find out it's banned. Because then suddenly your money is gone, the card is worthless, and your emotions have gone up and then immediately crashed. And we have to think about, if you're a poor person who's playing EDH, or like somebody who's like, not even a poor, but just like you live in a country where card availability is super hard, or where, it's just not easy to be a Magic player. And we can't just whimsically decide like, oh, we're going to ban this card. And suddenly you're out like a whole month's salary because you're buying EDH is expensive. Any given deck is 100 cards, even at a bare minimum $1 a card. That's $100, and our cards are not $1 a card, right? An EDH deck is going to be, even a budget one is like $500-$600. Like if I pull out any of my random decks, they're like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of cards in there, right? Like this is just the nature of our hobby. It's obscene, and we want to make sure that we are very, very careful and very respectful of all the people who play EDH. So if you're going to play Commander, and if you're going to build a deck, I want to make sure that I respect how much money, time, and effort you put into building that deck. If I'm banning a card, or if we're banning a card, if I'm suggesting we should ban a card, it's because the negative effect on the impact on the game as a whole is far worse than any positive that we get from keeping your collection. Like Paradox Engine was a super expensive card when we banned it. It was like $30 to $60 or something like that. People were pissed,
50,
right? Like people were actively furious with us because we banned this expensive card.
Yeah.
But it was so detrimental that people were quitting EDH because of that card. And you lost a $60 card, but that person lost $500 to $1,000 worth of deck, right? And that sucks. You don't want that. You don't want anybody to leave your game. And so we want to make sure that.
And some friends
at the same time,
in the
people
way.
are like, oh, why don't you just ban like doubling season? Yeah. Right. Like, and they're like, why don't you ban doubling season or something? Then you can have Planeswalker. I'm like, doubling season is a minimum $100 card anywhere in the world. Are you insane? Why would I do that? Why would I ruin somebody's like deck and just like burn their money? And you got to think about like the game as a global game. Card availability is weird all over the country. There are cards in Europe that are like €2 or €3 that are like $80 in America. And there are cards in America that are like, 50-cent commons that like the Europeans who will come to our shows will just buy up by the pound because they can go back and sell them for like, hundreds of euros back home. And so when we have this responsibility of handling every community, we have to think about like, what will this do to that kid playing in Sao Paulo, or that kid playing in Roma, or that kid playing in Bonn? Yeah. What are they going to do if they wake up and they find out half their deck doesn't work anymore because we took out one key card? And that's heavy, man. That's like, that's a very big deal. And that's part of why having the CAG is important.
And I think that this economical aspect is very, very, very important to be considered, because sometimes I think that Magic is still an hobby that it is not for everybody, for its economical aspect. And I think that so in some way Magic could lead to a sort of a sort of economic segregation, because when we cannot afford a deck, is very difficult to play some formats. For instance, if I want to play Legacy, for instance, and I'm
you just can't.
Yeah, because maybe if I play
Mono Red Burn.
Yeah, no, but okay, maybe if I play for I play Legacy elves. For maybe or Elves, but maybe I play Magic for since I was 10 years old, so maybe I can during time I can collect cards.
Yes, you already have the duals.
Yes,
for example.
Exactly. So I think that one of the problem to
Address.
to make Magic a really global game is also this economical aspect,
Yeah, they're
because
available.
and the availability of cards,
Yeah.
of course, because I think also in this case reprints are very important to be a good tool to enjoy the game, because reprints can lower the prices, so I can afford decks, I can buy cards, and I think this is very important.
I think one of the best things Magic did, for instance, was print those snow dual lands in Kaldheim, right? The common duels that have snow island, swamp, or whatever, because those are like functionally fetchable. They're snow lands. I mean, they're basically after turn one identical to a tundra, right? Like, it's fantastic, and it's super easy to get and very available. But like, I can't do anything about the reserve list, right? Like, that is way outside of the CAG's control.
Yeah, of course.
But the best I can do is to make sure that when we're making a decision, that we at least think about what it's going to do to you, right? Like, Commander, think about it. Commander's ban list is so small compared to what it should be. Like, there are a ton of cards that should be banned, but that we won't ban because play your game, man. It's fine. Just have fun. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't know, man. It's hard. Magic is a game for rich people.
Yeah. No, another thing that I must say is that Casual Commanders is very good in this, because when you can't afford some cards, for instance, when you can't afford Wheel of Fortune, there are plenty of cards that you can use instead of Wheel of Fortune. So I think also the format itself is very
It's more
easy.
forgiving.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, with the example of the tap lands, I mean, we don't need dual lands when we are playing Casual Commanders, because playing one turn behind is not such a big deal for us.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. And I mean, think about it. In Commander Legends, they gave us Wheel of Misfortune, which is a more fun Wheel of Fortune anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that Magic design... Exactly. It does more interesting things. I think Magic R&D has discovered that they can just make functionally better copies of old cards, and then suddenly that availability problem goes away, right? Like, they gave us... think about it. In Ixalan, we got Cradle of Itlamok, which is a Gaia's Cradle that's also functionally better than a Gaia's Cradle.
Exactly what I was thinking about. Those cycle...
I mean, it's expensive as hell now, but it's not Cradle expensive.
Yeah, and this cycle of lands, when they came out at first, I was amazed by them, because they were functionally reprint of some of those old cards, and they were, as you said, more interesting, because there was also the aspect of turning them, flipping them. So it was a game in the game, and then as a reward, I had these Gaia's Cradles, and which is also better because can tap for mana even if I don't have creatures.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
E voi cosa ne pensate? Lasciateci un commento e, come sempre, ricordatevi di mettere mi piace al video, condividere e iscrivervi al canale. Se volete rimanere sempre aggiornati sul mondo di Magic the Gathering, ricordate di attivare la campanella per non perdere nessuna novità del canale. Da Magic è tutto, ciao e alla prossima!